The sun beat down on the prison yard like an angry fist. Adrian Phillips stood alone near the fence, his eyes taking in everything while giving away nothing. 5 years into a 15-year sentence had not broken him. The other prisoners gave him space, sensing something dangerous beneath his quiet exterior. "Phillips, time to go in," called Officer Kathleen Murphy from the guard tower. Adrian nodded once and began walking toward the entrance. He had been a model prisoner since arriving at Arizona State Maximum Security Prison. Never caused trouble, never complained. The guards found this more unsettling than if he'd been violent. What none of them knew was that Adrian, former Special Forces operative with the callsign Reaper, was always watching, always planning. Not for escape. His imprisonment had been necessary, a sacrifice for the greater good. But old habits died hard, and Adrian noticed things others missed, like the slight shimmer in the air above the eastern fence. He stopped walking and looked up. The shimmer grew larger, distorting the blue sky behind it. Officer Murphy hadn't noticed yet, her attention on a fight breaking out near the basketball court. Adrian's muscles tensed. He'd seen this effect before. Once. On a mission that was now classified beyond top secret. The air rippled, and suddenly an object appeared where before there had been nothing. A ship, dark and sleek, hanging impossibly in the sky. Not human-made. "Not even close. Alarm!" Adrian shouted, but it was too late. A beam of pale blue light shot down from the vessel, touching the ground 20 feet away. Within the light, shapes began to form, tall reptilian creatures with 6 limbs and elongated skulls. They wore what looked like armor made of overlapping plates that shifted with their movements. Chaos erupted in the yard. Prisoners scattered. Guards raised weapons. The prison alarm finally wailed across the compound. Adrian alone stood his ground, assessing the threat with cold precision. The aliens moved with military efficiency. 2 carried weapons Adrian didn't recognize. 3 others held devices that emitted pulses of energy, dropping guards and prisoners alike without killing them. One alien, taller than the others with bright red markings on its skull, gestured toward Adrian. "This one," it said in a voice like grinding stone. The words weren't English, but somehow Adrian understood them. For a brief moment, surprise flickered across Adrian's face. Then his expression returned to neutral. He squared his shoulders and prepared to fight. The alien noticed. "Interesting. Most species panic when they see us for the first time." "Not my first time," Adrian replied quietly. Before the alien could process this statement, Adrian moved. Years of special operations training took over. He closed the distance to the nearest alien in 3 quick steps, ducking under a clumsy swing from its weapon. With precise movements, he struck upward at what he hoped was a vulnerable point in its armored neck. The alien stumbled back, making a high whistling sound that might have been pain. "The Deathworlder fights back," shouted another alien. "Vexthal, we need to sedate this one." The tall alien with red markings, Vexthal, raised what looked like a pistol and fired. Adrian felt a sharp sting in his shoulder. Looking down, he saw a small dart embedded in his prison uniform. "What do you want?" Adrian demanded, already feeling the sedative spreading through his system. His words slurred slightly. Vexthal approached, now confident that Adrian would soon collapse. "Strong specimens from Sol 3. You'll fetch a good price." "Slavers," Adrian said, understanding dawning as his knees weakened. Bad choice. The world tilted sideways as Adrian fell to the ground. His military training fought against the drug, keeping him conscious a few moments longer than the aliens expected. "Captain Vexthal, we have 5 others secured," reported one of the aliens. "Good. The client specified 6 specimens. This aggressive one will be valuable in the fighting pits." Vexthal leaned closer to examine Adrian. "Look at these scar patterns. Must be some kind of tribal warrior." "The database lists this planet as a Class 12 Deathworld," said another alien, scanning Adrian with a handheld device. "Quarantined by Galactic Concord Decree. Inhabitants not supposed to leave their system. Which makes them rare, which makes them valuable," Vexthal replied. "Load them up before planetary defense forces respond." Adrian's vision darkened as they lifted him. Through sheer willpower, he remained aware enough to count steps, note turns, feel the change in gravity as they entered the ship. Old training kicking in, gather intelligence, find weaknesses, survive. The inside of the ship was cold and smelled like a mixture of chemicals Adrian couldn't identify. They placed him in a small cell with transparent walls. 5 other humans lay unconscious in similar cells nearby. Adrian recognized Gregory, a former accountant who worked in the prison library. The others he knew only by sight. As the last of the sedative took hold, Adrian heard Vexthal speaking to someone out of sight. The raid was successful. 6 specimens from Sol 3. 1 shows unusual combat aptitude. Might be worth separating for special sale. Bioscan them all, ordered an unseen voice. Check for implants or diseases. Deathworlders often carry parasites. Already scheduled. We'll be at the processing station in 3 cycles. As darkness closed in, Adrian's lips curved in a slight smile. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They thought they were getting a primitive fighter from a backwards planet. They had no idea they'd captured a man specifically trained to fight their kind. His last conscious thought was simple. They should have checked my prison records. When Adrian woke, he kept his eyes closed and his breathing even, another old habit, from special operations. He took stock of his situation through other senses. The cell was still cold. The surface beneath him was hard and smooth. He could hear mechanical humming all around. Life support systems, probably. And voices. Alien voices speaking nearby. This one's readings are strange, said a new voice higher pitched than Vexthal's. Look at the bone density, and these neural patterns. Dr. Zelnara, all you need to confirm is that it's healthy enough to sell, Vexthal replied impatiently. But there's something not right, insisted Dr. Zelnara. These readings suggest modifications, advanced ones. Impossible. Sol 3 is primitive. They barely have orbital capabilities. Adrian opened his eyes then, looking directly at the 2 aliens standing outside his cell, both startled visibly. It's awake. Dr. Zelnara stepped back. Adrian sat up slowly, every movement deliberate and controlled. He studied the aliens with the same intensity they studied him. Then, to their obvious shock, he spoke in perfect galactic standard. You should have checked my prison records before taking me. Silence filled the room. Dr. Zelnara's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in what Adrian guessed was shock. Captain Vexisthal's hand moved to the weapon at his side. How do you know our language? Vexisthal demanded. Adrian kept his face calm. I know many things you wouldn't expect. Dr. Zelnara moved closer to the transparent wall of the cell, curiosity overcoming fear. Captain, this changes everything. A human who speaks galactic standard. The broker will pay triple our asking price. Vexthal seemed less impressed. Or it's a trick, some kind of natural mimicry. He tapped something on his wrist device. Commander, Urtak, join us in the holding area. Bring a security team. Adrian took this moment to study his surroundings more carefully. 6 cells lined the wall. The other humans were still unconscious. The ship hummed with a steady vibration that suggested they were moving at high speed. 2 exits, one likely, led deeper into the ship, the other toward the loading area he'd been brought through. You won't be able to sell us, Adrian said calmly. Earth will come looking. Vexthal made a sound like stones grinding together. Laughter, Adrian realized. Your primitive planet? They have no way to track us. By the time they realize you're gone, you'll be sold to the highest bidder in a system they've never heard of. Before Adrian could respond, the door slid open. A new alien entered, flanked by 4 others carrying weapons. This one wore darker armor with gold symbols on the chest. Commander Urtak, Adrian guessed. This is the specimen? Urtak asked, studying, Adrian with narrow yellow eyes. Yes, and it speaks galactic standard, said Dr. Zelnara excitedly. Urtak stepped closer to the cell. Impossible. Sol 3 is quarantined precisely because they're too primitive and aggressive for contact. Yet here I am, Adrian replied in the alien language, speaking to you. Makes you wonder what else you might be wrong about. Urtak's posture stiffened. Captain, this one needs immediate processing, full scan, complete assessment. It's not behaving like any Sol 3 specimen in our records. Adrian watched closely as they entered commands into the control panel beside his cell. The transparent wall slid up into the ceiling. 4 guards aimed their weapons at him. "Stand and walk forward slowly," Urtak ordered. "Any sudden movements, and you'll be stunned." Adrian complied, noting the weapon's design, the guards' positioning, the layout of the corridor as they led him from the holding area. Every detail might be useful later. They brought him to a large chamber filled with strange equipment. Tables with restraints lined one wall. Screens displayed information in the alien's writing. Adrian recognized some medical symbols that seemed universal. "On the table," Urtak commanded, pointing. Again, Adrian complied without resistance. Fighting now would gain him nothing. He needed more information, more time to plan. Cold metal restraints closed around his wrists and ankles. A device lowered from the ceiling, hovering over his body with a soft blue glow. Beginning full biological assessment, Dr. Zelnara announced, operating a control panel. First, baseline readings. The scan was uncomfortable but not painful. Adrian controlled his breathing, keeping his heart rate steady. "Fascinating," Dr. Zelnara muttered as data appeared on her screen. "The bone density is remarkable, and look at these muscle fibers. They're designed for both power and speed." "Is that unusual for its species?" Urtak asked. "No, but this specimen is exceptional even by human standards. And there's more." She adjusted the scanner. "I'm detecting healed fractures, dozens of them. This human has sustained and recovered from injuries that would kill most species." Vexthal moved closer to examine the data. "Combat injuries?" "Most likely," Dr. Zelnara confirmed. "And look here." The scanner focused on Adrian's shoulder. "There's something embedded in the tissue, not biological." Adrian knew what they'd found. His military implants. Tracking, communications, medical monitoring, standard equipment for his unit. They were supposed to be undetectable by most scanning. Technology. Some kind of primitive technology? Urtak asked, leaning closer. "Not primitive at all," Dr. Zelnara said, sounding troubled. "This is advanced, nearly on par with conquered medical tech." Vexthal turned to Adrian, eyes narrowed. "What, are you?" "Just a prisoner," Adrian replied. "Like the others you took." "No." Urtak shook his head. "The others showed fear, confusion. You analyze and adapt. You speak our language. You have technology in your body that shouldn't exist on your world." He leaned closer. "What is your function?" Adrian said nothing. "Continue the scan," Urtak ordered Dr. Zelnara. "I want to know everything about this human." The scan intensified. Adrian felt a tingling sensation as the blue light penetrated deeper. He kept his mind blank, another technique from his training. "Captain," Dr. Zelnara called suddenly, "I've found something else. A neural implant at the base of the skull. It contains data, encrypted." Vexthal hissed in surprise. "Can you access it?" "I can try, but it has security measures I've never seen before." While they focused on the screen, Adrian tested his restraints, strong but not unbreakable. He counted 4 guards now, their attention divided between him and the fascinating data from the scan. A new voice spoke over the ship's communication system. "Captain Vexthal, the other specimens are awake. Some are becoming disruptive." Vexthal sighed. "Commander, stay here and finish processing this one. I'll deal with the others." After Vexthal left, Adrian spoke directly to Urtak. "The man named Gregory, the one with light hair, he needs medication for his heart. If you want him alive to sell, you should check." Urtak stared at Adrian with suspicion. "Why tell us this?" "Because dead slaves aren't worth anything," Adrian replied simply. Urtak spoke into his communication device, relaying the information. Then he turned back to Adrian. "You're not what you appear to be." "Few things are," Adrian said. Dr. Zelnara called. out in excitement. "Commander, I've bypassed the first layer of encryption in the neural implant. There's military coding." Urtak moved quickly to her side. "Military? These humans barely have spaceflight." "It's advanced. Very advanced." Dr. Zelnara worked frantically at her controls. "There are service records, mission logs, training protocols. This human is a soldier." "Special forces," Adrian corrected, seeing no reason to hide it any longer. "Trained for specific threats." "What threats?" Urtak demanded. Adrian smiled. Slightly. "You'd be surprised." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the room. Red lights flashed on Dr. Zelnara's control panel. "What's happening?" Urtak shouted over the noise. "The implant. It triggered some kind of security protocol when I accessed deeper files." Dr. Zelnara's hands flew over the controls. "It's forcing a complete data dump into our system." The screens around them flickered, then filled with text and images. Adrian saw his military file opening before their eyes. His training record, his mission history, his specialization. Dr. Zelnara read the text aloud, her voice growing more, distressed with each word. "Subject Phillips Adrian J. Callsign, Reaper, Special Operations Division, Xenobiological Threat Response Unit." She turned to stare at Adrian with all four eyes wide open. "Xenobiological, it means, I was trained specifically to fight aliens," Adrian finished for her, "and I was very, very good at it." Urtak stepped back, drawing his weapon. "Captain Vexthal to the medical bay immediately. Security alert." Adrian looked at the fear in their eyes and knew his advantage had just improved considerably. Sometimes, reputation was more powerful than weapons. "You should have checked my prison records," he repeated calmly. "I wasn't there for petty crime. I was there because the last time I met beings from another world, I was the only human left standing." The medical bay erupted into frantic activity. Commander Urtak barked orders while keeping his weapon trained on Adrian. Dr. Zelnara worked desperately to contain the data flooding their systems. Captain Vexthal burst into the room, flanked by more guards. "What's happening?" "The human is a soldier," Urtak said, his voice tight with tension. "Not just any soldier. One trained to fight alien species." Vexthal's eyes narrowed as he looked at Adrian. "Impossible. Sol 3 has had no official contact with galactic civilization." "Unofficial contact, then," Urtak suggested. "Look at the data." Everyone turned to the screens, which now displayed combat footage. Adrian, 5 years younger, moving with lethal precision against a creature not unlike their own species. The video showed him targeting specific weak points in alien anatomy with ruthless efficiency. Adrian watched their reactions with calm attention. The footage was from his final mission, the one that led to his imprisonment. He had never expected anyone to see it again. "How many alien species have you encountered?" Dr. Zelnara asked, unable to hide her scientific curiosity despite the danger. "Enough," Adrian replied simply. Vexthal paced the room, clearly agitated. "This changes our situation. The broker must be informed. The broker will pay 10 times the standard rate once he sees this," Dr. Zelnara said, gesturing to the combat footage. "A human trained specifically to fight non-terrestrial biology? Many collectors would pay fortunes for such a specimen." Adrian spoke up. "Or you could return me to Earth and avoid what happens next." "Threats?" Vexthal laughed, but the sound lacked conviction. "You're restrained and outnumbered." "For now," Adrian said calmly. Commander Urtak stepped closer to Vexthal. "Captain, I recommend maximum security protocols. This human is more dangerous than we anticipated." Vexthal nodded. "Agreed. Transfer him to solitary containment, triple the guard, and find out everything about this Xenobiological Threat Response Unit." As guards moved to release Adrian's restraints, he remained perfectly still, memorizing their movements, the weapons they carried, the layout of the ship revealed through the open doorway. "What will you do with the others?" Adrian asked as they secured his wrists with energy cuffs. "They'll be processed normally," Vexthal said. "Standard merchandise, standard price." Adrian nodded as if considering this. The man Gregory might be useful to you. He worked in the prison library, knows more about Earth than most. Vexthal looked suspicious. Why tell us this? Adrian just smiled slightly, saying nothing more as they led him from the room. His suggestion would ensure they would separate him from Gregory, exactly what he wanted. Better to keep the civilian away from what would happen next. They marched him through the ship's corridors, 6 guards forming a tight perimeter. Adrian counted steps, noted junction points, air duct locations, and security camera positions. Old habits from his military training. They brought him to a smaller cell deep in the ship's security section. This one had solid walls rather than transparent ones, with only a small window in the door. The interior was bare except for a simple sleeping platform. The broker will arrive in 10 cycles. Vexthal informed him before the door closed. Until then, reflect on your situation. Cooperation might improve your future. Adrian said nothing, simply sitting on the platform as the door sealed shut with a hiss. Alone at last, he closed his eyes and focused inward, activating specific neural pathways that connected to his military implants. The implants wouldn't be fully functional, not in deep space cut off from Earth's secure networks, but some autonomous systems would still work, including the one designed to counteract alien sedatives and control drugs. Adrian felt the implant engage, a warm sensation spreading from the base of his skull throughout his body. Within minutes, he would be operating at peak physical capacity. Then he would plan his next move. Meanwhile, in the ship's command center, Captain Vexthal opened a secure communication channel. The screen flickered to life, revealing a hooded figure. Broker Cranvex, the powerful slave trader waiting to purchase their human cargo. "Captain, your report is concerning," Cranvex said, his voice artificially deepened by the communication system. "A human with knowledge of alien species, with combat training against non-terrestrial life forms. This requires investigation." The specimen's implant contained classified information, Vexthal explained. "We're analyzing it now." "Send me everything," Cranvex ordered. "I have contacts who might identify this Reaper and his unit." In another part of the ship, Dr. Zelnara worked frantically, sorting through the data from Adrian's neural implant. Most was encrypted beyond her ability to decode, but fragments revealed disturbing information. One file contained a mission report. First contact with species XB7 resulted in 17 casualties. Lieutenant Phillips successfully extracted. The remaining team using previously untested combat techniques specific to xenobiological weaknesses. Another file showed training footage. Adrian learning to exploit vulnerabilities in alien physiologies, mastering weapons designed specifically for non-human targets, developing resistance to various extraterrestrial toxins. Dr. Zelnara sent her findings to Captain Vexthal with an urgent note. This human wasn't just trained to fight aliens. He was part of a secret program designed to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats. His imprisonment may have been to keep his existence hidden from the wider galaxy. In the holding area, an alien prisoner in a cell across from the remaining humans watched the activity with unusual interest. This prisoner, designated only as Number 37, belonged to a species that had encountered humans before, though this fact was unknown to the slavers. As guards moved Gregory to a separate examination room, Number 37 called out to the nearest human in a rough approximation of Earth. "English. You, friend of the Death Soldier?" The human, a young man named Eric, looked up in surprise. "What? Who?" "The one they took. The one called Reaper." Number 37's triple-jointed limbs gestures emphatically. "The Death Soldier. Adrian, he's just another prisoner, keeps to himself." Number 37 made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "Not prisoner, warrior, killer of my kind. Beware when he returns." Eric frowned, confused. "What are you talking about?" Before Number 37 could explain further, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Captain Vexithal's voice echoed through all compartments. "Attention all crew. Security level raised to maximum. The human-designated Reaper is to be considered extremely dangerous. New protocols in effect immediately. Back in his solitary cell, Adrian opened his eyes as the announcement ended. His implant had completed its work. He felt stronger, more focused, his senses sharper. He examined the energy cuffs on his wrists. Standard design, but effective. He would need to be patient. Adrian sat perfectly still, controlling his breathing, waiting for the moment to act. He had been in worse situations during his service. Being captured was sometimes part of the mission. The key was to gather intelligence before making your move. Hours passed. Adrian heard guards changing shifts outside his door. He heard snippets of conversation. The crew was nervous, talking about his combat record, debating what to do with him. Finally, the door slid open. Commander Urtak entered, followed by 2 guards and Dr. Zelnara. Urtak held a datapad. "We've learned more about you, Reaper," Urtak said, using Adrian's call sign with obvious discomfort. "Your final mission, the one that led to your imprisonment." Adrian said nothing, watching them with cool eyes. Dr. Zelnara spoke up, her scientific curiosity evident. "You disobeyed orders to abandon civilians during first contact with a hostile species. You stayed behind to ensure their evacuation." "You were imprisoned for saving lives?" one of the guards asked, confusion clear in his voice. "I was imprisoned for disobeying direct orders," Adrian corrected calmly. "And for certain methods I employed to ensure those civilians survived." Urtak studied him with new understanding. "Your own people feared what you could do." Adrian smiled slightly. "They feared what I represented. Knowledge that humans aren't alone in the universe. Proof that we can fight back when threatened." Communication system suddenly blared to life. "Commander Urtak to command immediately. Emergency communication from Broker Kranvex." Urtak hesitated, then turned to leave. "Watch him carefully," he instructed the guards. After they left, Adrian closed his eyes again, appearing to meditate. In reality, he was preparing. The ship would reach its destination soon. The moment to act was approaching. In the command center, Captain Vexthal received an urgent transmission. Broker Kranvex's face appeared on screen, his expression grave. "Terminate the human-designated Reaper immediately," Kranvex ordered without preamble. "Maximum security protocols. Do not bring to market. Repeat, terminate immediately." "Terminate?" Vexthal was shocked. "But the profit—" "There will be no profit, only danger," Kranvex hissed. "My sources have confirmed. This humans unit was created after a classified incident 5 Earth years ago. An incident involving the destruction of an entire Krazul scout ship." Vexthal froze. "Our people? By humans?" "By this human," Kranvex specified. "This Reaper is the reason Sol 3 was quarantined. Not to keep humans contained, but to protect us from them." Vexthal turned to a security monitor, a cold feeling spreading through him. The screen showing Adrian's cell displayed only an empty room. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Red emergency lights flashed in every corridor. Captain Vexthal's voice boomed over the communication system. "Security alert. Human prisoner escaped from maximum containment. All crew to battle stations. Secure all key areas. The specimen is to be terminated on site. Repeat, terminated on site." In the shadows of a maintenance tunnel, Adrian moved silently. The energy cuffs that had bound his wrists now lay broken on the floor behind him. His prison uniform was torn at the sleeves, making it easier to move. His escape had been simpler than expected. The guards had underestimated both his strength and his knowledge of alien technology. The lock system was similar to one he'd encountered in his training. Adrian paused at a junction, listening. Heavy footsteps echoed from the left corridor, a security team moving into position. He went right, deeper into the ship's maintenance areas. His first objective was to find the other humans. His second was to access the ship's navigation system. 3 decks below, Security Chief Drazkul assembled his elite hunter unit. Drazkul was a veteran of countless slave rebellions, but never one involving a human trained to fight aliens. The target has military training specific to our weaknesses, Drazkul told his team. Do not engage alone. Do not underestimate this human. Shoot to kill immediately. A junior officer raised a hand. Sir, the human is valuable merchandise. The broker has ordered termination, Drazkul snapped. This human is not merchandise, it is a threat. Meanwhile, Dr. Zelnara hurried to the medical bay, where Gregory was still undergoing assessment. Unlike Adrian, Gregory showed appropriate fear and confusion. Please, Gregory begged when he saw Dr. Zelnara. I've done nothing wrong. I'm just an accountant. The other human, Dr. Zelnara said urgently. Phillips. What do you know about him? Gregory blinked in surprise. Adrian? Not much. He keeps to himself. Some say he was military before prison, but he never talked about it. Did he ever mention aliens, other species, space travel? What? No. Gregory looked bewildered. Is that why we're here? You're aliens? Dr. Zelnara ignored his question. Did he ever speak about a mission? A battle? Something called the Xenobiological Threat Response Unit? Gregory shook his head. Never. Look, what's happening, all these alarms? Before Dr. Zelnara could answer, the medical bay door slid open. A guard rushed in. Doctor, you need to evacuate to the secure area. The human has escaped. Dr. Zelnara's 4 eyes widened in fear. Already? How? Unknown. But the captain wants all non-security personnel in protected areas immediately. As they rushed Gregory back to the holding area, Adrian was working his way through the ship's ventilation system. The ducts were tight for his human frame, but manageable. His implants provided enhanced vision in the darkness, revealing the path ahead. He paused above a security checkpoint, watching as guards coordinated their search patterns. Their voices drifted up to him. How dangerous can one human be? A younger guard asked. Very, replied an older one. Command says this human single-handedly destroyed a Krazul scout ship. Impossible. No primitive species could. It wasn't with technology. It was with knowledge. Somehow this human knew exactly where to strike, what systems to target, like it was trained specifically to kill our kind. Adrian continued forward. The information was useful. They feared him. Fear made enemies predictable. Predictable enemies were easier to defeat. Several minutes later, he reached a junction above the ship's data center. 2 guards stood at the entrance. Adrian studied their positions, noted the weapons they carried, then moved silently to a different access point. Inside the data center, technicians worked frantically to secure their systems. One called out to a supervisor. The human's implant is still connected to our network. It's downloading ship schematics. Shut it out, the supervisor ordered. I can't. The technology is unlike anything I've seen from Sol 3. It's adaptive. Adrian smiled in the darkness. His implant was functioning better than expected. Soon he would have complete knowledge of the ship's layout, security systems, and, most importantly, where they were keeping the other humans. On the bridge, Captain Vexthal faced a growing crisis. Status report. The human has disappeared. From all sensors, a crew member replied nervously. Last detected in Maintenance Section B, but the trail ends there. Impossible. Increase sensitivity. Check all maintenance tunnels and ventilation systems. Sir, another crew member called. Out. We have a security breach in the data network. The human is accessing ship schematics and crew information. Vexthal slammed a fist down on his command console. Lock down all systems. How is this happening? This is a primitive Deathworlder. Sir, Commander Urtak said quietly. I believe we've been misled about humans. The quarantine around Sol 3. What if it wasn't to protect the galaxy from them, but to protect them from us until they were ready? A chilling silence fell over the bridge as the crew considered this possibility. The silence was broken by a new alarm. Security breach in holding area 4, a voice shouted over the communication system. The human prisoners, the transmission. Cut off abruptly. Vexthal turned to Urtak. Take a full security team. Now. In holding area 4, Adrian had just finished disabling the last guard. The man lay unconscious but alive at his feet. Adrian never killed unless necessary, a personal code that had often put him at odds with his military superiors. He turned to face the cells containing the other humans. 5 faces stared back at him with a mixture of fear, hope, and confusion. Adrian? Eric was the first to speak. What's happening? What are these things? Alien slavers, Adrian replied calmly, accessing the cell control panel. I'm getting you out. Aliens? A woman named Nicole said in disbelief. Like, from space? Adrian nodded as the first cell door slid open. I'll explain more once you're all free. For now, stay close and do exactly as I say. As the humans gathered around him looking to him for leadership, Adrian quickly assessed each one. Nicole had mentioned being a nurse during processing. Medical knowledge would be useful. Eric had been a construction worker, good for physical tasks. The others had skills that might help their escape. The aliens call themselves the Krazul, Adrian explained as he collected weapons from the fallen guards. They're part of a larger, galactic community that mostly avoids Earth. They see us as primitives from a dangerous planet. How do you know all this? Nicole asked, accepting a weapon despite her obvious discomfort with it. Adrian paused, then decided they deserved some truth. I was part of a military unit that encountered aliens before. It's why I was in prison. The mission was classified. Before, they could ask more questions. Adrian held up a hand for silence. His enhanced hearing had picked up the sound of approaching footsteps. Many of them. Security team coming, he whispered. Everyone into the maintenance tunnel. Now. As they scrambled, to follow his orders, the alien prisoner designated number 37 called out from its cell. Death soldier, free me too. Adrian hesitated, studying the alien. Your people attacked an Earth outpost 5 years ago. Number 37's 3 eyes blinked in surprise. You know my kind? I know how to kill your kind, Adrian replied coldly. That's why I was imprisoned. The alien lowered its head. My people made mistake. We thought humans weak. We were wrong. Adrian considered for a moment, then made a decision. He activated the cell's release mechanism. One chance, he told number 37. Betray us, and you won't get a second. As their unlikely group disappeared, into the maintenance tunnel, Commander Urtak and his security team burst into the now empty holding area. Urtak stared at the open cells, the unconscious guards, the missing weapons. Captain, he reported grimly, the human has freed all prisoners, and he's armed them. On the bridge, Captain Vexthal received this news with growing dread. How many security teams do we have left? 3 full teams, Captain. Deploy them all to protect the engine room and bridge. This human isn't trying to escape. He's trying to take over my ship. But Adrian had different plans. As he led his group through the maintenance tunnels, he explained his actual objective. The ship's data vault is 2 levels up. It contains records of all Krazul operations, including planned raids on Earth. We need that information to warn our people. Warn them? Eric looked confused. Can't we just focus on escaping? These slavers are part of a larger fleet, Adrian explained. If we only save ourselves, Earth remains at risk. Nicole studied Adrian with new understanding. That's why you were in prison, isn't it? You chose to save people when you were ordered not to. Adrian didn't answer directly. Everyone deserves a chance to survive, even a chance to fight back. As they approached a junction, Adrian suddenly raised his hand, signaling for silence. Ahead, the heavy footsteps of the Hunter unit echoed in the corridor. They're blocking our path to the data vault, Adrian whispered. What do we do? Nicole asked. Adrian checked the weapons they'd collected, then studied the ship schematic displayed by his implant. We need a diversion, he said finally. He turned to number 37. How good are your people at causing chaos? The alien's mouth parts formed what might have been a smile. Very good, Death Soldier. Very good indeed. Minutes later, alarms blared from the opposite end of the ship. Security Chief Drazakul received urgent reports of a fire in the cargo hold. He hesitated, then ordered half his hunter unit to in. Silence fell across the ship after Adrian's chilling words. In the command center, Captain Vexthal stared at the communication panel, a cold feeling spreading through his body. Lock down the data vault, he ordered finally. All remaining security. Teams converged there immediately. But it was too late. Adrian had already bypassed the outer security door, using techniques developed specifically for alien technology. He stood now before the main data terminal, his implant connecting wirelessly to the system. Cover the entrance, he told Eric and Nicole. We won't have much time. Nicole gripped her weapon nervously. What exactly are we looking for? Proof, Adrian replied, his eyes focused on the streams of data flowing across the screen. The Krazul aren't just random slavers, they're scouts for an invasion force. His implant translated the alien text as it appeared. Fleet movements, target coordinates, Earth. They've been taking small groups of humans for years, Adrian continued, testing our strengths and weaknesses, planning a large-scale operation. Gregory, who had remained quiet until now, moved closer. Like what happened to you before? The reason you went to prison? Adrian nodded. 5 years ago, I was part of a first contact team. We encountered a Krazul scout ship near Jupiter. They attacked without warning, captured some of our people for study. What happened? Eric asked. I happened. Adrian's voice was flat. I was the only one with specialized training for extraterrestrial threats. I boarded their vessel, retrieved our people, made sure that ship never reported back to its fleet. Before anyone could respond, number 37 hissed a warning from the doorway. Death Soldier, they come! Adrian worked faster, downloading critical information to his implant, fleet positions, communication protocols, weakness in Krazul ship design. Everything Earth would need to defend itself. Download complete, he announced just as the first energy blast hit the door. Time to move to Phase 2. Phase 2? Gregory asked nervously. Taking control of this ship. Adrian moved to a secondary terminal. Every vessel has emergency protocols that allow a single operator to control critical systems, even alien ones. Outside, Security Chief Drazkul directed his hunter unit. Breach in 3, 2, 1. The door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and metal fragments. Hunter unit soldiers poured through, weapons ready. But the room was empty. Check the ventilation. Shafts, Drazkul ordered. They can't have gone far. What Drazkul didn't know was that Adrian had found something far more useful than ventilation shafts in the ship's data. He had found the location of the emergency transport tubes, rapid transit conduits designed to move critical personnel. During ship emergencies, Adrian and his group were already moving through these tubes, heading directly toward the bridge. This wasn't part of their security training, Adrian explained as they traveled. The Krazul never expected anyone to know their emergency systems better than they do. The transport tube opened into a maintenance area just behind the bridge. Adrian raised his hand, signaling the others to stop and stay quiet. Ahead, he could hear Captain Vexthal shouting orders. How did we lose them? Find them. Now! Sir, came Commander Urtak's voice. All hunter units are searching, but the human seems to know our ship better than we do. Impossible. How could a primitive Deathworlder— because I'm not primitive, Adrian said, stepping onto the bridge with his weapon raised. And Earth isn't just a Deathworld, it's our world. The bridge crew froze. Behind Adrian, the other, humans and number 37 emerged, all armed and covering different sections of the room. How did you— Vexthal began. Your emergency transport system needs better security, Adrian replied. Now everyone away from their stations. The aliens complied, moving slowly to the center of the bridge. Urtak studied Adrian with what might have been reluctant respect. What happens now, human? Vexthal asked. You can't pilot this vessel. Actually, I can. Adrian moved to the captain's console, his implant connecting to the system. Your ship controls are similar to ones I've trained on. Vexthal's eyes widened. You've trained on Krazul ships, how? After my first encounter with your kind, Earth prepared. Adrian's fingers moved across the alien controls with practiced ease. We recovered enough technology to understand your systems, to plan for the day you returned in force. On the main view screen, a star chart appeared showing the position of the Krazul invasion fleet gathering at the edge of Earth's solar system. Your fleet, Adrian said, waiting for your report before launching their attack. You cannot stop them, Vexthal said, but doubt had crept into his voice. I don't need to stop them. Adrian activated the ship's communication array. I just need to send them a message. Adrian transmitted a data package, everything his implant had gathered about Earth's defenses, military capabilities, and knowledge of alien weaknesses. But he altered the data, enhancing Earth's technology, vastly increasing its military strength, exaggerating its understanding of alien biology. What are you doing? Nicole asked quietly. Making Earth look too dangerous to attack, Adrian explained. The Krazul respect strength above all. They prey on those they think are weak. The view screen flickered, showing the response from the Krazul Fleet Command. Adrian's implant translated the message. Report received. Invasion assessment updated. Earth threat level raised to maximum. Operation cancelled. All scout vessels, withdraw immediately. Adrian allowed himself a small smile as he turned to Vexthal. Your fleet is retreating. Earth is now classified as too dangerous to approach. Vexthal stared at him with a mixture of fear and confusion. What happens to us? We're going to make a deal, Adrian said. This ship now belongs to Earth. You and your crew will be confined but unharmed. When we reach Earth, you'll be the first official diplomatic contact between our worlds. You would spare us? Urtak asked. After what we did? Killing you would be easy, Adrian replied. Making peace is harder, but it's what Earth needs if we're going to join the wider galaxy. With the bridge secured, Adrian began setting course for Earth. Nicole approached him, speaking softly. You planned this from the beginning, didn't you? From the moment they took you? Adrian nodded slightly. Our intelligence suspected the Krazul were planning something. My capture gave us an opportunity to gather proof and send a message. But you were in prison, Gregory pointed out. How could this be planned? My imprisonment was complicated, Adrian admitted. Partly punishment for disobeying orders during my first alien encounter, partly a cover while I waited. Waited for what? Eric asked. For them to come back. Adrian's eyes remained on the controls. We knew they would eventually. Humans are too interesting to ignore. As the ship changed course, heading toward Earth, Dr. Zelnara was brought to the bridge under guard. She looked at Adrian with scientific curiosity rather than fear. I still don't understand, she said. How did one human defeat an entire crew of Krazul warriors? I was designed to, Adrian replied simply. After our first contact, Earth created the Xenobiological Threat Response Unit. Soldiers trained specifically to counter alien biology, technology, and tactics. And they called you Reaper, Zelnara said. Why? Because in human mythology the Reaper comes for everyone eventually. Adrian's voice was quiet. No matter how advanced you are, no matter how far you run. A day later, as Earth appeared on the view screen, Adrian received a transmission from Earth's Combined Military Command. The message was brief. Welcome home, Reaper. Your sentence has been commuted. Report for duty. The stars need you more than a cell does. Nicole, who had been standing nearby, looked at Adrian with new understanding. So what happens now? Adrian gazed at the blue planet growing larger on the screen. Now Earth joins the galactic community. Not as a primitive death world to be quarantined and exploited, but as a power to be respected. And you? Gregory asked. What happens to you? Adrian thought about the skills that had made him both hero and prisoner, the abilities that had allowed him to defeat an entire ship of alien warriors, the knowledge that made him dangerous even to his own people. I do what I was trained to do, he answered finally. I protect Earth from anything that threatens it. As the captured alien vessel approached Earth orbit, Adrian Phillips, Callsign Reaper, stood tall on the bridge of his prize. He had been taken from his prison cell as a slave, but returned as something far more important. Earth's first line of defense in a universe that had just discovered humans were not to be underestimated. The aliens had kidnapped a Deathworld prisoner, but they had unleashed something far worse, humanity's darkest defender, trained to fight the stars themselves. And somewhere in the depths of space, the retreating Kraazul fleet carried a warning to the rest of the galaxy. The beings of Earth are not prey. They are predators, and the most dangerous among them answer to the call sign, Reaper.